So where does the story begin? My weight loss story, my successful weight loss story, which is still ongoing at the moment, that starts in September, October of 2020. But there comes a whole lifetime before that. So just briefly, I am, depending what day of the week it is, I'm between 5'10" and a half and 5'11". And I have been this height pretty much since the end of primary school. So I am a tall woman. I am not as tall as many women. There are some stunning 6'1", 2, 3, 4 girls out there. I am no longer an unusually tall woman in the wider scheme of things, but I was born in 1974, and in the late 70s, early 80s, when I was a child, I certainly was unusually tall. So I have always been bigger than the average woman, and that's just part of my psyche. When I'm at home with my family, my brothers are much taller than me, my dad's very tall, my uncles, my cousins, we are tall people. It's only really when I'm out in the world with other women or looking for boys back in my early days that I was sometimes painfully reminded how tall I am. My nicknames wasn't so much at primary school, but certainly secondary school, that sweet corn advert, ho ho ho, green giant, that followed me everywhere. And I got taken the mickey out of a lot for being so tall. Funnily enough though, it wasn't being tall that bothered me as much as my feet, because I've always had size 9 feet. And as a young lady growing up, I never had shoes like other girls. There was a shop back in the day, Lily & Skinner, and they had a range called Tall and Small. And so there would be little tiny people and enormous people like me looking at the same half a dozen styles of shoe. So basically I grew up in ladies' wedding shoes and green flash Dunlop tennis pumps, which, you know, there's no comment on my parents or anything. It just, there wasn't size 9 shoes for girls. And I grew up on a farm, so various pairs of wellies as well. So I always just took up more space in the world than other people. I kind of have a personality to match. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know about anybody else's star signs. I'm very, very self-obsessed when it comes to star signs. I am quite loud. I'm quite forthright. I'm shy in like group situations, but where I know what I'm doing, if I'm in charge of a group or I'm talking to a group of people, I'm very confident and I'm strong. And so I kind of own my height. Eventually, by the time I was about 15, the boys got as tall as me and taller, and that was a very exciting summer. And eventually, much later, when I got some confidence, and a lot of that was due to my now fabulous husband giving me a lot more confidence in myself, I actually did some modelling, which people had always said to me I should do, and I always used to poo-poo and say, oh no, I can't do that. So yeah, did a little bit of modelling and really enjoyed that. So I've always been Emma the tall person, and that's fine. Never, you know, didn't really hold me back. Certainly going into being an adult, I did whatever jobs I wanted. I did whatever I really wanted to do. I was very, I sort of, food is a big deal in my family, like most families, farming family, food is love, you know, everybody eats, and, you know, I was well fed, my mum, and, you know, fed us very well, and, you know, meat, potatoes, vegetables, all the rest of it. When I sort of started to get control over my own food and what I could eat, I went through some funny stages. I went through a funny stage when I was about 12, 13, where I started restricting, and, you know, I was living on apples, and I did get really thin, very unhappy and very weak, and my body was not supposed to be very thin. So luckily that kind of passed. Then I went through a phase when I was about 2021, where I was an absolute gym bunny, and that was pure vanity, nothing to do with health. I was fairly slim anyway, but I was, you know, young, about town. I was, you know, working behind a bar as well as working a day job, and I wanted to look as good as possible. And I had a lot of time on my hands. I lived by myself, and so I spent a lot of time, 6-7 times a day, going to the gym, 6-7 times a week going to the gym. Loved it. Probably a little bit too much, one thing and another, and then I had a life change and kind of got my life together, got happy, got settled, met my wonderful husband. Then eventually had my daughter, and really since I've had my daughter, I have carried a lot more weight. I had my daughter when I was 30, 2 weeks after she was born, and really from then on, you know, my weight has not been my main focus, neither in a positive way or a negative way. And I don't remember when, but within the last few years, I have kind of very much embraced and felt part of the plus size community. You know, that's what I was. I was a size 16, then an 18, then I was a 20. Probably the last couple of years, it's been nearer 22. I wear black for work, and I've always been able to dress and make the best of myself, and I have the advantage of being tall and broad shoulders, so I always carried my weight fairly well, and people would always poo-poo, you know, oh, you can't be a size 20, you can't be this, you can't be that, and I most certainly was. And the scales were matching, you know, I was 15 stone, 16 stone, then I was 16 and a half stone, and people would still be, oh, you can't be. Probably within the last sort of 18 months, well, yeah, 18 months prior to me starting to lose weight though, it came in that dreaded place that I think comes to most women, around my middle. I'd always had boobs, bum, flat stomach. When I was skinny, when I was average, when I was a bit bigger than average, that's where my weight sat. I developed big chest, big bum, but still could maintain a flat stomach and a bit of a waist. So I enjoyed dressing that shape. You know, I wasn't worried about being skinny. I said it before, I'll say it again, I got a wonderful husband who loves me, and I didn't really feel any need to do anything other than dress as nicely as possible. But this weight around the middle was making it harder and harder to dress that area. I've never been an apple shape, and I now understand how difficult it is for somebody who is an apple shape that carries weight around the middle. My apple girls, I do spray tanning and stuff in my business. My apple girls, fabulous, because they carry all their weight around the middle, but they have fantastic legs, fantastic ankles and legs, you know, 10 times better ankles and legs than I've ever had. But the weight around the middle can be difficult if you are not happy with it. And I was getting increasingly unhappy with it. I suffer with a really tricky back, sciatica, that can lay me out, you know, for days and days at a time with excruciating pain. Nothing diagnosed, no injury, nothing, but it just, I have these muscle spasms. And obviously that's not helped by carrying a lot of extra weight. So eventually, lockdown, I was still pretty sensible. I'm self-employed and I'm a beauty therapist. So during the first lockdown, at home with my daughter, with my husband was furloughed. He's in the building industry and he was furloughed. And, you know, we ate sensibly. Because of all the food shortages and all the food scares, we were eating sensibly, but I wasn't really buying a lot of fresh stuff because you didn't want to keep going out and getting fresh stuff. So we were eating more kind of prepared meals and tinned and frozen things. And I did what everybody else did, and I started baking, and that was lovely. And the blueberry muffins that I made were a sensation. But the weight obviously crept on. And so then fast forward to about, I can't remember, well, I remember the feeling and the moment, but I don't remember what date it was. But it was on I think it was a Sunday, September, October last year. I dropped my daughter over to Lyme Regis. It was just when we were gradually coming out of the first first lockdown, I think. She was going to a small celebration, an outdoor celebration for a friend's birthday. And I was driving back over from Lyme Regis, and I don't know why, I just had this epiphany. I wasn't having like a particularly bad day. Nobody had particularly said anything. But I just had this moment of, I don't like how I feel. I don't like how I look, and I don't have to do it. And it was kind of like, oh, I don't have to be like this anymore. And that part of my brain that makes me self-employed, that makes me run a business that is you know, consistent and successful in its own little way, the thing that keeps me organizing my daughter and my husband, and the thing that the strength that, you know, if my family needs me, I'm there. All of a sudden I kind of remembered that I could use that strength for myself, and it was weird. It sounds all very new age, but I just had this sort of moment of enlightenment driving over towards the golf course near where I live. And I came home and just said to my husband, right, I'm going to lose my weight. And he was like, oh, brilliant. You know, that's great if you want to. And I was like, yeah, 3 or 4 stone. And bless him, he looked at me and you could see him thinking, oh, she's on a mission. She's on a mission now. And I gave myself that big target because I knew 1 stone wasn't going to do it. I knew 1.5 stones wasn't going to do it. And I wanted to be different. I wanted to change. I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to have a significant weight loss, so I felt more like myself again. So that day, I think it was a Sunday, that day I went to Superdrug on the way home, and I got Slim Fast. I've used Slim Fast in the past for a short space of time. I like meal replacements. I can cope with them. I like milkshakes, and if I don't have to think about breakfast and lunch and just concentrate on dinner, then that's a winner for me. So I sat down and I looked through the Slim Fast program. It is a low calorie program. It is quite restrictive, but I felt that was what I needed. I needed some significant change, and I wanted to get the ball rolling pretty quickly. So that was my starting day, was that Sunday.